Love is in the air in one of Shakespeare's funniest comedies, Much Ado About Nothing. Don't miss all the laughs, gossip, jealousy, deception, romance, and love. Live on stage, March 9th through April 2nd at Orlando Shakes. Much Ado About Nothing. Order your tickets now. Call 407-447-1700 or visit orlandoshakes.org.
Hello, and welcome to this Orlando Shakes special presentation on Facebook Live and on YouTube, our live-streamed Q&A with the creative team of Much Ado About Nothing. I'm Douglas Love Ramos, the managing director here at Orlando Shakes. Tonight, sit back, relax, and learn about some of the people behind the scenes of our latest production of the season. Now, Much Ado About Nothing kicks off with opening night tomorrow in the Margson Theater at the Shakespeare Center. And we would love for you to join us at the show, but also tonight, join in the conversation from wherever you are. Leave us your questions about the production in the comments section, and we will try to get to as many as we can. Now, it is my pleasure to introduce you to some of the members of our creative team of Much Ado About Nothing. First, welcome my friend, colleague, and the director of Much Ado About Nothing, and the artistic director of Orlando Shakes. Let's welcome Jim Helsinger.
Hi, guys.
Hey. Next, let's say hello to the costume designer of Much Ado About Nothing, bringing almost 20 years of experience to this production. Please welcome Kanisha Kelly.
Hello.
Hi. And last but not least, let me introduce the man behind the beautiful sets you're going to see in this production. Certainly no stranger to Orlando Shakes. Welcome, Bert Scott.
Hi, everyone.
Thank you all for taking the time to join us this evening. Jim, let's start with you. So this is a production that certainly has stood the test of time. Now, this script has certainly stood the test of time. We'll see how the production goes. Tell me, why this play? Why did we choose this season? And why do you love this play so much?
Well, I think that this is Shakespeare's greatest comedy. If Hamlet is his greatest tragedy, Much Ado is his greatest comedy. It really is him at his very best, providing incredibly witty, fun lines, incredibly funny clowns, and the depth that a romantic comedy can also have as problems happen for our lovers. It's really kind of the imprint for rom-coms that we see today, whether that be Crazy Rich Asians or something else. Much Ado About Nothing is that groundwork that they're working from, of a couple pairs or one pair of lovers, the problems that happen and how they come back together. For us, I felt that as we were coming back from the pandemic, people need to laugh. They need to get back to the regularity of life, to love, to happiness, to romance. And Much Ado takes place just after the war. We don't know exactly what war it is, but the soldiers are coming home, and the young women of the estate are thinking about marriage, and the young soldiers are thinking about marriage, and they come together. We've been in a war for the last 2 years with a pandemic, and we want to be seeing that ending now. A lot of things are easing. We hope, fingers crossed, that continues to happen. There's not another surge, and it's time to relax, celebrate, and think of love.
I'm for that. Don't forget, everyone, you're watching this live on Thursday, March 10th, and type a question in the comments below, and we will do our best to get to it. You know, Jim, there's so many exciting and fun moments in this show, and I think that because music and our special take on music for this production is, really throughout the entire evening. Tell us about your choices and decision to incorporate what kind of music.
Yeah.
In this one.
Well, first of all, this production is what you might call a mashup production, just like when they put two songs together. There were a couple time periods that we really liked the idea of doing the play in. One was we had sort of a Bridgerton concept, which is taken from the Empire Regency period in England. And it's a very elegant line for men. It's a really good period for status. And status is an important part of Much Ado. We have a prince, we have a count, we have a governor, all the way down to the members of the watch, who are kind of the mall cops, if you will. So we liked that idea, but we also really liked using a modern concept and having the ability to use modern music. And we have an iPhone and iPods in the show, et cetera, et cetera. So we really wanted we liked both of those. And then eventually, I think it was Kanisha, our costume designer, said, could we put them together? Which is what we've done. So musically, and I think each design element could talk about it as well. Musically, when we started choosing songs, we wanted to find something that both honored that older period, a little more string quartet, and something that honored the period of today, 2022. So what we did, we made Spotify lists, actually, and we started concentrating on the women of the play. The women are the strong people in the play. They're the right people in the play. They don't make mistakes. The men are just like boys, making mistakes all the time. So we started looking for divas. And we have Cher in there, and we have Beyonce in there. We have Jennifer Lopez and lots of those, Lizzo, and lots of, from the 70s, 80s, Ella Fitzgerald up to now, things that are all kind of popular, strong women singing songs. If you like it, you should put a ring on it, is at the top of the play, which is exactly what the play is about, is everybody wanting to get married. And then we combine that with some of our audiences may be familiar with the Vitamin String Quartet, which does classical string versions of popular rock and pop ballads and songs. So you may have heard that if you listen to Westworld. Bridgerton actually used some of that too, where you go, hey, wait a minute, that's the Rolling Stones, but it's on Westworld. So we alternate between those two, and some are huge breakout dance numbers because there are dances in the show. So we do Let's Get Loud and a big dance to that. We do a big dance to that and a couple other things. And then later on, when we're in the tomb, when we're singing a very sad song because someone has died, we're using a little bit of Beyonce's Heaven, which was written after she had had a miscarriage and was really grieving for her lost child. And in this, they're grieving for someone that's died as well. So it's really a mashup of very fun music. I think that people of every age are going to enjoy it, whether you are really young and it's Ariana Grande, or whether you are young at heart and it's Ella or Cher or something else like that, or a string quartet.
Excellent. Kanisha, these costumes are gorgeous. Talk about how you took that concept of mashup and transferred it to what these actors are wearing. And how did you come up with some of these looks are incredible.
Thank you so much. Well, it was honestly starting from the conversations that I had with Jim. We were playing around with a couple different concepts, and then we ended up deciding on doing the mashup. And I was looking at trying to make it Regency, but also how do I bring it into this more contemporary lens? So one of the things that I was looking at is trying to keep the men's silhouette feeling a little bit more classic, but also seeing how I can mix in a couple of contemporary lines. Like, for instance, the shirt collars are kind of the shirt collars of the period, but instead of having the wingtip, they really stand up and they actually push away and push open a little bit more. Some of the trims are leather instead of being just, kind of a plain soldier silhouette that was dominant for the Regency period, and even the cut of the clothing as well. And so then looking at that combined with characters like Dogberry, which you see here. So for Dogberry, we wanted to, and what Jim was hoping for was making him seem a little bit more mall cop. And so we ended up putting a lot of the watch in cargo pants and more contemporary shirts and playing around with scully caps and things like that. So, and even with the women, we also had some of the women in more pants looks as opposed to the high empire waist dress of the period. So we tried our best to, and I tried my best to see how I can kind of let them have this feel that is a world of their own, but still give them a feel of another time while still allowing them to connect with today. it was a lot of work.
I bet.
But I think it turned out really well, and I'm very excited and proud of this. And it was honestly great working with the costume shop too.
Thank you. That's great. And it is fun to see.
Mhm.
And boy, there's some sparkly shoes that one of the characters wears. They're very impressive. Very exciting. So
Thank you.
let's move on to Bert. Bert, where are we in this show? I mean, with this mashup, what is the setting, and how did you approach your work for designing our set?
Well, we're in Messina, which is in southern Italy, but really there's a mashup there. I've incorporated some Tuscan elements from northern Italy. The mashup was interesting architecturally because there are, in Europe there are buildings that are hundreds of years old, that are sometimes thousands of years old. They're still being used. So it was interesting to think about how to approach that, whether it should be a completely modern building or not. So I sort of have approached it as if it's an estate that is old, that has sort of a remodeled element in the center of it. There's a pergola that's in the middle of the set. That's sort of the new piece that's been put into the old parts. I also had an interesting challenge with the set, and then we had a bit of an existing structure that I was working with, and it had lots of sort of worn wood on it. And as I was looking at research images of Italian architecture and Italian estates, that sort of led me to looking at estates on vineyards because of the sort of wood structures on the vineyards. So that's kind of how the design evolved, taking that little bit of wood that was existing that I knew I was going to use, and finding lots of really great images of vineyards with their where the structures that the vines are growing on. So I sort of took that and ran with it, and decided that we were going to be on a wine estate, and so there are vineyards featured in the rows of grapes there, and the growing in the background, and there are barrels of wine being stored on site. So that's sort of how this set evolved. And then it also in the mashup with the old architecture and the new architecture, there's modern lighting, there are electric lights, there is contemporary furniture. But even with the contemporary furniture, we found some really interesting wooden furniture that is clearly modern, but it sort of has the line of a bit of the Regency period in it. So it was really fun to sort of combine those periods together.
It's beautiful, and just the revolve of that pergola goes around and around, and things pop up from the floor, and the way the actors are staged to move through the space is really exciting and fun to watch. It's kind of this seamless story. They're not big pauses for scene changes. It's all incorporated, and the action has a momentum to it that's really exciting. So Jim, when we cast this one, there's so many actors who are favorites at Orlando Shakes, and who we've managed to cast in this production. Who are some of the folks that we're going to see in this show that we've perhaps seen before in other ones?
You're going to see a lot of returning people and some new faces as well. Benedict, who's one of our leads, and Don Pedro were two of the Three Musketeers, which was the play that we were performing when the pandemic shut us down in 2020. Paul Bernardo is returning to the stage for the first time in a few years. He was in Titus Andronicus. He played Brutus and Julius Caesar, and goes all the way back to when we were performing at Lake Eola decades ago. Trinell Mooring, who was just in our production of Intimate Apparel in the fall, and was also Hermia last spring when we were doing Midsummer down at Lake Eola, is returning. Anne Herring, who is on our staff and is such a treasure. We're so lucky to have her. She was just in Sweetwater Taste and was fantastic, is back. And then a returning person who actually played Dogberry back in the 90s. We did the show down at Lake Eola. He was fantastic. Paul Vogt then moved to Los Angeles and got on Mad TV and has had quite a wonderful and varied career. He's been on Broadway playing Hairspray. He's been in Chicago on Broadway. And he's also the only male licensed and allowed to play Ursula in The Little Mermaid. And he just recently moved back from LA back to Orlando, and we're lucky enough to snag a Broadway star for our show. Then we have some brand new people, Connie Costanza, KP Powell, who are coming from New York and other cities. Rodney's coming from Colorado. We're always a mix of the wonderful talent we have here locally, because the theme parks are here in Orlando. There's so much great talent here of local talent, and a mix of people from around the country, both people that have been with us for many years and some that's their debut season. It's a really strong cast.
It is. We're so proud of this work. And I guess I wanted to ask each one of you if there's something that our audience should keep an eye out for, something special or something that's a favorite of yours that perhaps we wouldn't notice if we weren't tipped off to it. Let's start with Bert. Is there something about the set that we should make sure that we don't miss, or something that you particularly enjoy?
Well, I think this is something actually people will see, but there's a great moment in Act Two. Douglas, you talked earlier about how the set is always in motion and it's seamless scene changes. But there's a moment in Act Two where Jim has directed the actors to have an interaction with the scenery. It's quite funny, and it's really interesting to see the set have its little moment there while these four folks are a bit confused by what the set is actually doing.
You'll have to come see it to know what he's talking about, but it is hilarious. Kanisha, what should we look for in the costumes?
Honestly, there's a lot to see, but one of my favorite scenes is the masquerade scene. So I'm excited for everyone to see the different masks that we use and the little bits and pops of color that are actually on the characters. So
yes, excellent.
Mm-hmm.
And those shoes that I talked about.
And the shoes. If nothing else, you will see those shoes.
Yeah, you won't miss those shoes. They're great. And Jim, what should we keep an eye out for?
I think a few things. One thing I'd like for you to listen for is Dogberry, the comic leader of the clowns, who is the town constable, speaks a lot in malaprops, meaning saying the wrong word in the right place. And he does it all the time. And sometimes you're really going to catch it, and sometimes it will slide right past you if you're not really listening. So I wrote down a couple things. He says about somebody he likes: "You are the most senseless and fit man for this job." That's a fun one. A villain at one point, he says, "Villain, thou art full of piety," which is clearly wrong. And then a very fun one is he's talking to the head of the estate, Leonardo. And Leonardo says, "Gentlemen, you are tedious." And Dogberry misunderstands that and says, oh, for myself, if I was as tedious as a king, I would bestow it all on your worship. And all thy tediousness on me, eh? So just be listening for his malaprops. It's really fun. And then at the very end of the play, it's the last moment of the play, watch for it. We go into a dance thing, and our friar, who marries everybody, does the splits. So we have not only a man of the cloth, we have a man of the dance in our show as well. So it's very fun. That's the dance they're doing right at the end. And it's full of fun dance. We're doing the Cupid Shuffle right here. So you can come and enjoy that with us. And I suppose If you can get a big drink at intermission, because we're set on a winery, we are drinking all through the show. We drink champagne. We have a wine tasting scene. We have a whiskey tasting scene. So it's there's the drinking is where everybody drink when somebody drinks on stage. You would be pretty tipsy when you left the theater.
And you can get a full range of cocktails and wine and beer at our Harriet's Bar in our lobby, as well as a Cupid's Arrow specialty drink that is a very citrusy, delicious sangria that is a special drink only for Much Ado About Nothing. And of course, while you're there, you have to try our fresh chocolate chip cookies that we bake on the premises. So I want to thank everybody for joining us tonight for this great sneak peek at a show we're so proud of, and we want you all to come and see it. Much Ado About Nothing, just so you all know, we are very grateful to our sponsors for the show: A. Brian Phillips, PA, Foley and Lardner, OUC, Wells Fargo, and Orange County Government through their Arts and Cultural Affairs program. Much Ado About Nothing runs until April 2nd, so you've got plenty of time to get your tickets at orlandoshakes.org, 407-447-1700. And don't miss our opening night in-person pre-show tomorrow, Friday, March 11th at 6:30 p.m. And our cast post-show talk, or talk back, if you will, on Sunday, March 20th after our 2 o'clock matinee. And for season subscribers, guess what? It's time to renew your subscription for the 22-23 season. And we are officially announcing that season at our production tomorrow. But boy, there's some great shows coming up next season too. Make sure that you visit our box office team while you're here at the theater, and they can help you renew, and keep an eye out in the mail for renewal letters. And if for some reason you're not a subscriber yet, you'll be able to do that next month and join us as a subscriber for next season. Thanks to everybody for joining us for this feature interview. And thank you for watching and being a part of our Q&A. Orlando Shakes production of Much Ado About Nothing plays until April 2nd. We look forward to seeing you at the theater.